Hello, everyone. Mary Esther Miranda Gilbert back again. Today, I'd like to talk about hydration because so many people are walking around completely dehydrated, and it's important to understand just how much we have to replenish that water in our multiple trillions of cells in the body every day, all the time, throughout the day. And I know people get busy and they forget to do that, or they think, well, I'll just have a soda, or I'll have some tea, or I'll have some coffee that's got water in it, and that'll hydrate me just fine. But if you'll notice, when you take in anything other than purified spring water, you will get thirsty and you can't seem to satisfy that thirst. Or maybe you don't even notice that you're thirsty. It's important to notice that you're thirsty. You've got to pay attention to these things. Why is water so important? Well, other than oxygen, we can't survive more than 3 or 4 days without water. We start shriveling up and literally shriveling up, drying up, and you can't move your blood through vessels that are drying up and breaking and becoming more rigid, right? So we have to keep everything moist and lubricated inside the body, right down to the microcell structures that compose every single system in the body, right? So we have to keep moving through and circulating through water that can severely or definitely hydrate the body. So we don't want to get to the point where we're always thirsty, we're always dehydrated. That's very aging. Why do you want to accelerate the aging process and make yourself feel fatigued and start becoming more inflamed? Your body starts producing all this inflammation. Your blood gets as thick as ketchup. You can't move nutrients and oxygen through the bloodstream. If your blood is becoming thicker and thicker, the more dehydrated you are. So I just thought I would cover a little bit about why it's important to stay hydrated. So what causes the body to, make sure that it's holding on to enough water to long enough to hydrate the cells? You don't want to have the whole circulatory system trying to process the same water circulating through the kidneys and throughout the bloodstream over and over again. Things just start drying up and getting thicker and creating more heat and inflammation all the time. So we want to make sure that the blood has a certain viscosity, right? Certain thickness or lack of thickness, so that it can just flow smoothly all the way down to the tiniest little capillary at the very ends of the earth. No, the very ends of your body. Okay. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and just kind of emphasize and drive the point home to remind everybody to just stay hydrated, drink purified spring water. That's probably the best water because it has the best clustering structure that is more hydrating at the cell membrane. Everything happens at the microcell membranes. Things go in, things get booted out, detoxification occurs, new cells are formed, DNA is repaired. It's always this repair and regenerative cleansing detoxification process going on in those multiple trillions of cells in the body. So I thought I would just go into exactly what water does in the body. How does that happen? Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. And I just picked 3 different short articles, just to kind of keep me on track and not let me get distracted. Sometimes when I want to deliver a message or stay on a subject, I mean, there's so much to know that my mind just goes off in these little tangents and I want to explain something and I get into detail. I get lost in my details sometimes and then I forget what I'm talking about. But anyhow, I just wanted to stay on subject. And that's why I've taken to just grabbing some articles and reading a little bit about to people to keep me on track and to trigger, my mind so that I can remember to say more things as far as more educational things for you to learn. And if you've already learned this, great, congratulations. There's a lot of people that don't really know what's going on inside the body and are trying to reach those people. So it's important to share these videos if you find them valuable or if you find that someone else might benefit from them. Very important. My mission is to try to get the population as healthy as possible. We need a healthy, strong, vibrant population so we can, meet the challenges and challenge the problems. Okay, so I mean, problems can be as small as what are we going to do today? What's your intention for the day? Versus what can we do to help improve the state of the world, right? So collectively, we can make a difference. And historically, one person has changed history. So it's anywhere in between, as long as we stay on track and stay together with the same kind of beneficial mindset for all of humanity and for ourselves and for our families and for our own lives. So anyhow, yeah, there I go again, going off on a tangent, getting on my soapbox. But basically, we need to nourish the body. We need to hydrate the body in order to be higher thinking, higher functioning human beings, which a population, all civilizations desperately need right now on planet Earth. Would you agree? I hope so, because I see that as a real problem. I've always seen that. Okay, so the water. So what does water do for you? I'm going to just go ahead and enlarge this by hand here. And so, I mean, look at all the functions. Basically, we're mostly water, right? Especially babies. There's so much more, they have so much more water in their bodies than percentage-wise than an older person does. So, we need water to carry nutrients throughout the entire system, not just the bloodstream, but they have to enter the cell membranes of all of our different organs. So, in other words, like in the mouth, it helps form saliva, which is the first step for digestion. So, those enzymes help break down the food into this bolus, and it goes into the stomach, and it gets digested further through the intestines and on. And then it goes into it just gets distributed, all these nutrients that are broken down into the entire system, into the cell membranes. And do their work inside the cells. So then we've got the mucosal membranes. We've got to keep them moist and pliable so that they don't dry up, and they can maintain their cell detection sites that allow certain things to come into the cell environment. And if it's toxic, if it doesn't belong in the body, then the immune system detects the problem and does not allow them to enter our cells where life happens, right? Where health happens. And so if anything does get damaged and it does enter the cell and starts affecting the genetic code of instructions that run the body, then we're going to have some health issues, right? So we've got to protect our DNA. We have to protect the structure of our cells. So water is one of the main things that we need in order to do that. And also, water helps flush and circulate all of these waste products that the body generates just in the normal course of all of its multiple trillions of biochemical processes. So there has to be a way to get rid of metabolic wastes. So water flushes everything out throughout the whole system, throughout the circulatory system of all of our organs. So everything gets flushed out on a regular basis. So that's very important. We need water to keep that at the certain viscosity or a certain consistency so it can do that. Lubricates the joints, and fatty acids and different minerals and vitamins all contribute to the health of our joints, but water is the main component we need to keep them hydrated. And then it's the major component of most of the other body parts. All of the organs and cells have to be moist and pliable. Their circulatory systems have to be bouncy and liable and pliable, and be able to move nutrients and water through all the way through the entire body. And of course, it's needed by the brain. That's another organ, the most important organ. Without the brain, we cannot do anything, right? Nothing happens. So we need to help the glandular system to manufacture hormones. And water is a conductor of electricity, as you know. I'm sure you know this by now, that it transfers the electrolytes, the negatively charged particles, all of these things that are going on at the atomic and subquantum energy levels, where electricity is being utilized and help move everything in the body. So all of these biological processes are required by these neurotransmitters, and water is that conductor to carry those electrolytes and those minerals and formulate all of the neurotransmissions that happen between all of our trillions of nerve cells in the brain and nervous system. So water is very important for that as well. And also it regulates body temperature. So when you sweat, when you respire, you're breathing out moisture, then we need to maintain a certain amount of water just to maintain our normal 98.6 body temperature. And if we become more dehydrated, then of course the body's going to create more heat because of all the friction, because of the slowing down and the thickening of the blood, and all the circulatory system gets affected because no nutrients are not delivered. The body detects a problem and it starts producing all these inflammatory responses and all these stress chemicals. So, it's just stay hydrated, prevent more health problems by just staying hydrated. And of course, it helps to cushion everything between the joints. Water is a very good, the surface tension is a great cushion. So it protects against the compression between the joints kind of thing. So, it's a shock absorber for the brain and the spinal cord and all the joints. It converts food to, the micro nutrient compounds that enter the cells, so it helps in digestion. So if you ever have a stomach ache or something, and it's a temporary one from something you ate, say, so just drink a couple of glasses of water and it'll neutralize any kind of flare up and help move, the food substances through the stomach to the intestines. So water moves things to help improve the processes in the body. So water contains oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, or excuse me, uh, oxygen and hydrogen, CO2. Okay, so not CO2, H2O. Sorry about that. It's been a long day already. I just finished with a 2 hour, interview, and I'm kind of like loopy. But anyhow, yes, H2O, and it contains the oxygen component that helps deliver the oxygen needed for every process in the body as well. So, this is a very good source. It's in the public domain, and it's a good educational source, especially for children or adults. We all need to be reminded to drink water and why. So anyhow, this talks a little bit about all of the other um, essential functions that keeps the body going. And I think I probably have already mentioned everything. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so that's just one thing that I wanted to share with you. And of course, I always post the links of my sources up there, so you know where it comes from. And then we've got, oops, I don't want an advertisement here. I like this picture. It shows the electrical conductivity of our cells. We have to keep up our electrical circuitry in the body at the microcell level. So all the nerve cells are pulsing electrical impulses, in response to our environment inside and outside the body, so that the body knows what to do, how to react, how to communicate with the other body systems. So it requires enough water in the system circulating all the time. So, there's articles that are coming out now, acting like they discovered this. No, it's been around for a very long time, and it's been in the scientific literature for a very long time. So we all know, the scientific community knows how important water really is for this electrical conductivity and communication that goes on in the body. So, it says it relies heavily on electrical charges. Lightning like pulses of energy fly through the brain, and nerves and most biological processes depend on electrical ions traveling across the cell membranes of every cell in the body. Okay, so these electrical signals are very important. So, we've got all these electrical charges going on in the body on either side of the cell membrane, because there's always the electrical potential, right? Voltage, electricity travels from one point to the next. And so this is always going on on the cell membranes of our microcells. And so this is very important for bringing in nutrients and for expelling, things that are spent and utilized and is no longer needed inside the cells, that are expelled outside, so that they can circulate out and be eliminated by the 5 eliminated organs. And one of them would be, like the skin, or we've got the kidneys and the lungs, and the skin, like I just said, the skin, and the lymph nodes, the lymph system. That's another way to eliminate toxins at the cell level. So all these things are moving constantly, repairing and generating new cells inside the cell. And then things that need to be rid of, and detoxification on a daily basis is a natural thing that the body does every day, especially with the help of a healthy, highly nutritious diet that includes all the different food categories, namely the ones that are in my nutritional synergy system. And on my website, my book, Nutritional Synergy, describes this in detail and shows people what foods to eat and why, and how they work in the body. There's a lot of information there, but so yeah, and when I launch my True Health Mastery Institute, which is nearing completion, I just have to finish developing the courses, and then I will launch it and announce it to everyone who wants to be a private member to enjoy extra, education and information about how to master your health. I want people to truly know how to master their health, so they never have to worry about being sick or anything like that, or if anything does flare up, to know that the human body can repair itself if it's fully nourished. So learning my nutritional synergy system is one of the key components to being completely nourished and correctly nourished. So, everything happens at the microcell level. So cellular nourish is the way, the only way to heal the body. Other than prayer, that has its own energy system in the cosmos and that permeates everywhere inside our bodies. So that's another whole nother subject, right? Here I go again, going off on another tangent. Okay, going back to water and the electrical potential across the cell membranes. That's very important. Water helps deliver all of that and ensures that the body's electrical conductivity or communication networks are working properly. So I wanted to just show you that little bit here on this website. This is going to be a pretty short video because I've got somewhere to go and I've got to get this in. I really want to keep in contact with all of my subscribers to make sure that they get fresh content as often as possible. So, okay, so here's another one. And this one is from the Medline website, and they have a pretty good summary of what electrolytes are. So they say electrolytes are minerals that have an electrical charge when they are dissolved in water or body fluids, including blood. The electric charge can be positive or negative. In other words, an abundance of electrons in the orbitals of the atomic structures, submolecular, components, or a positive one where there are missing electrons, where there's a positive charges are more abundant than the negative charges are. So you have electrolytes in your blood and in your urine, in your tissues, and all your other body fluids. These electrolytes are circulating all the time, conducting these electrical potential across the cell membrane to optimize functioning. So electrolytes are important because they help to balance the amount of water in your body. They balance your body's acid-base balance. So in other words, your pH level. The lower your pH, the more acidic and inflammatory you are. And right around 6.5, 6.7 is right where you want to be. And by following my nutritional synergy system, you're always going to be in the right biochemical balance. The body's always trying to get back to the right balance, but what is called homeostasis or biochemical equilibrium. So, that's why nutrition and paying attention to your hydration is so important. So you don't go into this inflammatory mode, which causes a whole boatload of health problems. So, yeah, if you go any more alkaline, then that can cause you a lot of sickness and disease and dizziness, vomiting. I mean, it gets really, if you're too alkaline, it can cause problems the other direction as well, and sometimes even worse. Okay, so again, water moves nutrients into your cells. It just washes them right in. The cell membranes accept it and detect it and accept it. It removes waste out of your cells. I said that already. It supports your muscle and nerve function. Muscles contract with the electrical conductivity of your nervous system. So we also need to make sure that you're hydrated so your muscles stay hydrated as well. They can store more nutrients for future workouts or future, physical work. The body detects depending on how you stimulate it. If you exercise or if you lift heavy objects all the time for a living, then your muscles are going to remember. But they need water and they need nutrients in order to store that potential energy in the muscles so you can be stronger the next time you work, right? So that's just how the body responds. So anyway, it regulates heart rate and rhythm. So it needs water because of its electrical conductivity, attributes or properties. It'll help keep your heart rate going. Can keep your blood pressure stable. Again, if your blood gets too thick because you're dehydrated, then the kidneys can't do their job of filtering out all these filtrates that end up through the kidneys to urinate them out. So the kidneys can become aggravated and even infected. So you want to make sure you've got enough water and you're eating foods that are high in vitamins and minerals, in their whole food complex form, which is the most effective in the body. So, your blood pressure, your kidneys regulate blood pressure all the time. Of course, with all the other systems monitoring and regulating in contributing fashion that way too. But water is the key to make sure that your blood pressure is stable. And keeping your bones and teeth healthy, I mean, right down to your bone marrow and the marrow of the inside the teeth, inside the cavities of the teeth, where a lot of the cell reproduction and cleansing and cell regenerating type of activity goes on in the teeth as well. So we need water in those minute, intricate, tight places as well. So we've got to get the water circulating everywhere in the body. So then they talk about the different types of electrolytes in the body. So, I mean, these are just basic components, right? The major things that that help maintain your electrolytes. So that's why a lot of the sports drinks have things like calcium and potassium and sodium in them. But unfortunately, these sports drinks, they have chemical dyes and sugar as well. Who needs to, if you take in sugar or chemical dyes, it just causes more filtrates to form. So the kidneys have to get rid of them. And it can be really hard on the kidneys. These dyes are known to actually damage the kidneys if you take in a large volume of these drinks all the time. So purified spring water and high water content foods that are grown in nutrient-rich soils, the organic foods are much higher in the electrolytes and in the phytonutrient compounds that help maintain the fluid balance in the body. So it's all synergistic. It all works together. So that's what I teach, in my nutritional synergy system is just how to put it all together, how to choose foods that will ensure that your body stays hydrated and nourished and detoxified on a daily basis. So water is the foundation for all of that. So anyhow, these are the different basic, they're not all of the minerals, they're not all of the electrically charged minerals or electrolytes, right? So that's why the other things I just mentioned are so important in the diet every day. So then they say, what's an electrolyte imbalance? So of course, other than, exogenous things or, things that you do in your lifestyle or medications, things like that, then it's important to maintain that biochemical balance through a balance of essential vitamins and minerals and all of the right proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, the right types of fats. All those things play a role in contributing to your water and electrical balance in the body. So here's some things that could imbalance your electrolytes, certain medicines, severe vomiting and or diarrhea. So if you're on a vomiting spree, after food poisoning or something, then you're going to be losing a tremendous amount of electrolytes. And that has been known in people who are prone to stop the heart. You don't want to be without those electrolytes. They're needed to move the heart muscle and to deliver, nutrients that help the body communicate with all systems in the body. So if you're ever in a vomiting mode, just try to get through it. And also diarrhea, that's another way of losing electrolytes. So always replenish your water, but also eat foods that are high in minerals too. Okay. So heavy sweating, you lose a lot of electrolytes that way, obviously, because you sweat a lot of water out. So you've got to replenish that after every workout or every, if you're in bed and you have a fever and you suddenly break the sweat, or break the fever and you're suddenly sweating, then of course you have to make sure you get enough water. Heart, liver, or kidney problems, I mean, those things are extremely important for moving fluids and nutrients through. So you want to make sure you're hydrated to take care of those very critical organ systems. Not drinking enough fluids, especially when doing intense exercise or when the weather is very hot. I live in Tucson, Arizona, and I've been in Arizona for 13 years now. I lived in Northern California where it was always foggy and cold and rainy 9 months out of the year. But when I moved to Arizona, I found that it was hot, very hot, dry heat for 9 months out of the year. So it was the complete opposite. So it's more important than ever to make sure that you're not losing a lot of water through perspiration or sweat. Drinking too much water. I remember seeing a water drinking contest, and a woman drank so much water that it caused her cells to start bursting, and it was horrible. I mean, it's like drowning yourself, and so she passed away. She was drinking way too much water in that contest. And what an irresponsible, ignorant thing to do, right? To have a water drinking contest, please. So anyhow, everything in moderation except for drinking enough water to move things through your body and hydrate and lubricate everything in your body. All right. So anyhow, I'll post these links by the time you see this video. Yep, they're right down here. And that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to share with you. Let me stop the share here. So anyhow, I hope everyone's having a good week, and hope you have a good rest of the week. So there's a lot of things coming up in the world that we need to prepare for. There are warnings about, stocking up on at least 30-day food supply kind of things. Things are very volatile. And unless you're a person who digs for this kind of information, people may not even realize what's going on. So being used to being a fact finder, digging for the facts and digging information and discerning, using a lot of my discernment that I've learned over the 45 years I've been gathering facts, you can learn to recognize after a while when you follow all of these news items and contrasting and contradictory type of information. After a while, you start seeing a pattern, and after a while, you start just stepping back and saying, okay, I'm not going to believe everything I hear, not believe everything I see. It doesn't make sense. This is contradicting that and this, that, and the other. So we have this inner knowing. We have in our DNA a detection of whether something is true or not. We can feel it in our bodies, right? A gut instinct. That's nothing to be laughed at. We actually have built-in mechanisms inside of our DNA that can detect energy frequencies. Everything is frequency, as Tesla and Einstein and all those other greats in the physics world have ever taught us, that we do have a way to detect. Okay, so, but also we need to educate ourselves to gather as much information and evaluate that and see what makes sense and what doesn't. And after a while, we get to understand, besides our gut instincts, what is really going on. So a lot of people have come to the conclusion that, okay, we just have to step back and watch and observe, and so pay attention to what we want to do in our lives, especially if we're in service to others. That's a fundamental component of a great civilization, when everyone contributes something, however small, even if it's something that they think and feel, those are vibrations too that get out into the ether, the atmosphere in the world. I mean, there's been so many studies that have shown that when like that population study that was done many years ago, when people meditate or even do a certain type of yoga, it brings down the crime rate in that city, making a difference. Even if it's just 1% of the population doing this or less, they can affect, positive things in their environment, with radiuses up to, miles. So there is a lot to our electrical component at the quantum energy level that people aren't taught. This information is not new. It's been hidden from the public because a lot of entities out there don't want us to have that power, to realize that we have the power to change things through our energy frequency, vibrational bodies, the light energy body. These things are real. These things are explained through physics. And the spiritualists have always known about this for decades. Healers know about this, and they utilize these, tap into these things. We can heal ourselves to a certain extent, utilizing this kind of realizing this kind of power that we have to do this. But the right food is already at those high vibrational frequency levels. So when we ingest those foods, we're also transferring that energy form into our bodies, especially water that travels throughout the whole planet. It collects information. Water is known to be a source of recording information. So if you've ever seen all these different studies of water and how it reacts to its environment, how it reacts to things like angry words versus words of love and gratitude, things like that. So we have to study these things more and understand them more, so that we can manipulate our own environment and to our own benefit, our own health benefit, and to help the earth too. Some people think she's a conscious being, and so because she checks all the boxes of what it means to be a conscious living entity, right? She checks all those boxes, but she interacts with everyone. She responds to us. She's full of this water that holds information. And so, I mean, it can get really heavy, really. I mean, sometimes, it can even seem a little bit woo out there. But hey, I have found that woo, when you study it scientifically, it's not that woo after all. So anyhow, I just wanted to say, drink your water and have a great day. And I hope to see you soon. See you guys later. Bye-bye. Drink your water.